Nate Nottingham, you're the next contestant on Oh Hey There! Come on down! Cut the feed!
In today's comm classroom, you will need a large surface and a sharpened pencil. Using the side of the sharpened pencil, I extend a line as I take breath in. As I let air out, I trace back down the branch I have created. Each time I breathe, I feel through a new line as I let it branch out. Inhale. Exhale. Focus on your breath and the feeling of the pencil glide across the page. Each new breath extends a new tributary that can fractal out as you find your rhythm. The branching mark represents your lungs. Each time your breath gets deeper, you can feel your lungs expand. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Hi folks, we're going to switch gears this week. We're going to move away from those artist fusion projects in hopes that we see each other again in May. We get to use the school materials when we get back, and I think that those projects will really just be better when we see each other again. In the meantime, I want to be able to do a still life project with you, an observation drawing. Basically all you're going to need for materials are a pencil and paper. If you have anything else at your disposal, by all means use it, but the expectations are a little bit lowered just based on what you may have on hand. Here's my teacher's example. I chose to do a charcoal rendering of my kitchen from the perspective of my bench. I find peace in this space. The cleaning products around a clean sink is a comforting thought during this time. When I look at this piece, I can almost smell the Lysol. I could have chosen many more interesting angles of this sink. I just happen to like this everyday angle from my kitchen bench and still show my ability to capture two-point perspective. I chose the charcoal mostly because I knew I could build up the tones fast in order to capture the natural light in the time frame I was working. This project was able to be built up quickly because I planned through my process, from thumbnail sketch to preliminary drawing to final piece. Though it's not my favorite piece, it was great practice. This still life can be what many of you think, objects arranged on a surface. Or it can be a more realized interior space where you focus on the architecture around you. Either way, I want you to think about how you are dealing with all of this time to yourself and share visually the real objects, symbolic objects, and space that you are finding refuge in. Reading a good book? Put it in the still life. Learning to cook? Draw the vegetable bin in your fridge. I want this to serve as documentation of this time, as weird as it may be.
Let's go to the rubric.
First, communication and expression. Think about what the space means to you. What do the objects represent? What items helped you through this? Or even, who do these objects symbolize? How do these objects change meaning by being in the same space together? What style or line quality are you using? What choices are you making to convey your feelings? Can you make the mundane exciting? I like to think about the Dutch still life vanitas. These still lives represented the idea of mortality and death by showing symbols of time and rotting food. In your pieces, let's try having 3 to 5 symbolic items in your scene. For the methods, tools, and techniques grade, I want you to think about the following. Taking process and planning serious. The thoughtful rendering of light and shadow. Full tonal value. Overall good craftsmanship with your chosen materials. And for any future AP students out there, try challenging yourself by taking on objects that show reflection or translucency. In the notes, I have attached a document called AP Year at a Glance for any students who may be interested in the future. For your design layout and composition grade, focus on filling the space and showing space. We show space in a composition by the arrangement and interaction of objects across the page. The positioning, size, and overlap can all represent three-dimensional space on the two-dimensional plane. Use your knowledge of 1-point and 2-point perspective from Art 1 to help show depth. Choose your angle to tell your story in the most interesting way. Are you approaching your subject matter at a bird's eye view, street level, or worm's eye view? I will discuss perspective more in next week's video as we progress further in this project. Until then, I have linked to several videos that can help. As you plan your compositions, think about foreground, middle ground, and background, and how they overlap and juxtapose together. And finally, for your responding and presenting grade, you will be graded on the documentation of your work and a reflection that discusses the symbolism behind your project. What choices did you make throughout the process? For this week's work, I have prepared a worksheet to get ready for this observation drawing. Step 1 is brainstorming. Choose 5 potential symbolic objects and write why you are choosing them. How do these items represent this time for you? Step 2 is getting to know your symbols through drawing. Choose 2 of your items and show me 3 different angles of each. Each full-page example I created took me nearly 40 minutes to complete. Expect it to take you more time in order to do a good job. Step 3, photos for feedback. Although it's an observation drawing, I want to give you feedback on your ideas before you engage with a more involved drawing. This project in the long term may take you 2 to 5 hours. In your photos, find or set up the lighting. Place your items strategically for meaning. Find your angles. And then finally take your shots. 3 to 5 of them so I can help you choose. Feedback will be given on Schoology. Next time, I will talk more about perspective and process as you dive into constructing a personal and meaningful still life. Till then, be safe.